Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is your girl Calphany here. Today we are going to be reading some posts from r/NuclearRevenge, which is a new subreddit for me. Anything that is not r/Am I the Devil is a new subreddit for me because I have made one video. I got good feedback on the last one, so I hope you guys are going to like this one just as much. Today we are Nozomi Tojo from Love Live School Idol Festival, specifically her China dress outfit, which I absolutely love. I spent forever on this wig, actually. This started out as a white wig, and I dyed it, and then I had to style it and braid it and do it all myself. It was a lot of work. And I'm gonna angle myself like this. And you can, like this. Perfect. So then the Reddit post will go here, and I will go here. So I hope you guys enjoy this video and let's get right into the stories. So our first post is from user They Call Me Noob XD. Decline to pay me after I help you pass your exam. Have fun getting deported. So this happened a couple years ago during COVID when everything was online. A mutual friend, let's call him D, reached out to me, absolutely desperate. He was on the verge of getting deported because he had already failed his coding exam twice. One more failure and he wouldn't be able to stay in the country. I'm gonna readjust just a little smidge. He knew I was good at coding and begged me to take the exam for him. He told me how his entire future depended on it, how he had no options left, etc. Feeling a bit sorry for him, I agreed, on the condition that he would pay me $500 for doing it. He agreed immediately, so I spent a couple of weeks preparing. The exam was proctored over Zoom, and we set it up so that I could control his computer remotely while he pretended to take the exam himself. We pulled it off without a hitch, and he passed the exam. Afterwards, we went out for a few drinks to celebrate. Each paid their own share because I didn't want him deducting anything from what he owed me. Here's where things went downhill. He gave me $100 up front and promised to pay the remaining $400 in a couple of weeks after he sorted out his graduation stuff. Weeks turned into months, and he kept dodging me with excuses. After 6 months of this, it became clear he wasn't going to pay me back. I gave him multiple warnings to pay me or I'll report him, but he kept taking it lightly and blocked me. I was pissed. I helped him out and he completely ghosted me. Damn it, there's a loud ass car going by. I'll wait. Moving on. I was pissed. I helped him out and he completely ghosted me after getting what he wanted. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. First, I reported him to his university for academic misconduct. I explained in detail how I was the one who took the exam for him and provided evidence to back it up. They investigated and failed him retroactively, which meant he couldn't graduate. Since his visa was tied to his student status, this basically screwed him over completely. Some context. It was an anonymous tip off to the college with a fake email with all the proof. They called him and gave him a chance to retake the exam on the spot, but guy never studied and failed at the most basic stuff. But it didn't end there. He was still living in the country illegally, hoping to somehow fix things. I knew he had no way out, so I anonymously tipped off the authorities, saying there was an illegal immigrant involved in suspicious activity living in my area. They came, found out he was there illegally, and he got deported. Context. As for deport, I felt a bit scared in case he tried to hurt me in some way, so I made sure he never set foot in there again. Now some mutual friends are saying I went too far, that it was a petty move to ruin his entire life over $400. On one hand, I feel like he deserved it for trying to scam me. I wouldn't have minded if he came clean saying he doesn't have the money or financial capacity to pay, and that he was sorry. I would have let matters go without a hitch. I posted on another sub, Am I the Asshole, but started getting death threats. I feel like you guys here wouldn't mind this. Now I have had people owe me money before, and I have people who still owe me money, but I would never go so far to completely ruin their lives over something less than like $1,000. I can kind of see where he's coming from, that it's about the principle, but I feel like this is a little too extreme. I know it's on NuclearRevenge, but come on, let me speak from my heart. Let me speak from my heart. Another loud ass car. No one's doing anything important, so you can go ahead and drive your loud ass car around, that's fine. I heard a dog bark. There's a dog in this dorm? And I haven't met them? I can't imagine doing this much over $400. Granted, it's still a service, so it's not fair that he just completely basically ghosted and blocked you after that. I feel like they might have been taking it a little too far of an extreme for $400. Our next story is from a now deleted user. Throw me down a flight of stairs and destroy my relationship? Well, I hope you didn't like your life, ... as you knew it. So a little bit about me before I go into this. And before you ask about it, I'm going to be incredibly vague about a lot of specifics. If you've ever worked in cybersecurity or for the government, you'd understand why I'm cagey. I graduated from high school in the late 2000s. I tried college, it didn't work for me. So I enlisted... Dude, I can't read. I graduated from high school in the late 2000s. I tried college, it didn't work for me. So I enlisted like I already planned to after I got an associate's. I got into the Navy, passed quals for the Special Warfare training block while in basic, and after completion went and started training to become a SEAL, which I did not complete because that shit is no joke. It's cool because I went SWCC instead and became a dirty boat guy. SWCC are the guys you see in movies arriving just in time with fast boats, blasting lots of firepower at the bad guys so they can pull our boys out of hell. Sometimes they work in Hello crews? Sometimes they work with Helo? crews, or man the helos. Oh, hello, like helicopter, I'd assume. Maybe? I don't know. Sometimes they work with Hello crews or man the helos themselves. Most often they just patrol riverways in Iraq begging for someone to shoot at them to break the monotony. That sounds way cooler than it really is. Aside from becoming an expert in all things small watercraft and doing a good amount of diving and aircrew shit as well, I didn't go to do the cool SEAL shit. There's things I did do while strapped to a SEAL team, but I don't think I can talk about that. No door kicking, no breaching, no team shit. Only a handful of occasions did I ever get into a firefight. Side note, most YouTube Special Forces operators are former team or group guys who are full of shit and their colleagues did most of the heavy lifting. They just tell the stories from their perspective so somebody gets to tell it without divulging identities, etc. Anyways, I got out of boat shit 8 years in after being injured, and did my last 4 years of my 12-year career doing other stuff in special warfare, more cyber-oriented. I retired, collected my VA card, and went to school for a couple semesters to bone up on shit I needed for some cybersecurity certifications. And I've been working private sector since early 2019, got my LLC and everything. So this story actually starts in early 2016. I had been back in my hometown for a while, which was near a major naval base. I had changed career tracks and was on med leave for a bit after my injury, so I had been able to take some time to reconnect with an old high school sweetheart of mine, and we began dating for several months. She was my best friend growing up, and I absolutely blew it when I had the opportunity to take her to junior prom, and we didn't see much of each other after we graduated and I enlisted. So we'd grown apart, and in the several years it had been since we parted ways and reconnected, she had had a kid of her own, an adorable little 3-year-old girl, and daddy wasn't in the picture, which was absolutely his loss because she was a gem of a child. We grew close quickly, and after a couple of months she'd occasionally call me daddy, which made my heart soar. And as for her mother, I was head over heels for her years ago, and reconnecting with her only reinforced those old feelings because it took off like a rocket. We were inseparable for the first couple of months, and when we weren't going on fun playdates with her kid or acting like horny high schoolers after we'd send her to bed, we were texting each other at work, tagging each other in funny memes on Facebook, you know, dorky, cheesy, lovey-dovey kid shit that's embarrassing to admit as an adult in his 30s now. But, I mean, we were in love. Real love. Something that, to that point, I'd never known like that before. I'd been shot at and stabbed. Hell, my whole injury was due to getting my leg blasted with a 7.62? But none of that made me feel nervous and scared than this new love I was feeling. I had it bad. However, there was a complication in the form of her brother, some lanky, inbred wannabe gangster. I'm not saying this, W-I-G-G-A. I know that it's not, but I'm not gonna do it. Wannabe gangster boy, whiter than driven snow, who came in and started crashing on her futon a month and a half into our relationship. This piece of shit had the highly unfortunate blessing of also being the kiddo's godfather, uncle. He had no blood relation to my girlfriend or the child. He was just some former tweaker who worked at the Target they both worked at, who started crashing from low blood sugar. He was coming down from whatever high he was on. So she got him a cheeseburger and soda, which in the tweaker culture is like being given a handful of gold. He was forever in her debt and became her right-hand man, never wanting her romantically, as he preferred trash similar to his own kind, thank you God. She referred to him as brother and he of her as sister. So naturally he was uncle to the little one, which meant when he showed up in the middle of the night midway through our relationship, it was a very bad sign for me because that homeless, now jobless, feckless idiot was moving in. Our friendship started out in a very suddenly bad note because he was met by me in a 45 in his face, wondering why a grown-ass man was in my girlfriend's apartment while we were in bed and I heard something going bump. Side note, for any concerned citizens, the kid was sleeping between us, and they didn't have any pets, so I knew whatever was making noise out there wasn't anyone in the room, and nobody else should have been there. Pair that with recent break-ins in her complex, and you can see why I was justifiably armed. Now, I did not live there. I had my own studio near the base. I just stayed the night often because it was convenient and fun, and with recent break-ins, they also felt safer with me there, so win-win-win. So naturally, I didn't have any say in any regard of him living there. In an effort to placate the young whippersnapper after holding a fucking 1911 to his nose. I don't know guns, bro. I don't know guns like this. I don't know how I'm supposed to be pronouncing these or how I'm supposed to be reading these. After holding a fucking 1911 to his nose, I let him borrow my PS3 and a spare TV I had so he had something to do. Because fuck him if he was gonna actually go out and find a job. Instead, he smoked weed out on the balcony all day and played Need for Speed and COD on my PlayStation. This fucker acted like my girlfriend was his mom, expected her to cook for him when she got home from work, expected her to take his laundry out and fold it for him. God, he once asked her if she could relace his shoelaces onto his sneakers because she does it better. The kid, he was 23, was a fucking loser. And beyond just a live-in babysitter, the actual child when mom and I were at work, because my med leave ended eventually, served absolutely no value. We'd come home to a messy kitchen and shit all over the apartment. Numerous times he'd leave a growler in the toilet and neglect to flush. Ew. And fuck him for asking my girlfriend to do his laundry because I didn't always see TP in the water when I was the one to flush it. That's fucking gross. That's disgusting. The man had an itchy asshole all the time, I guarantee it. He was good with the kid though, I will give him that. She never had a dirty diaper before she transitioned to the potty, so good on him for being actually a little bit useful. Oh! No. Now I got a hole. I decided to fuck with it. Well, and it was like this for 4 more months. Eventually, I was spending so much time over there that she and I were talking about getting an apartment together so we're not paying 2 leases. And of course, dude guy was hitting us up for a spare room, which we fought and argued about because 4 months after moving in, motherfucker still had no job. The guy who talked so much game about being a successful drug dealer in his late teens, lol, couldn't move legal weed. He claimed to be a professional drift car driver, but nearly backed my car into a light pole 4 times the handful of times I trusted him enough to park it for me. And every single time we argued or had a little spat, his choice of words were, "I'm gonna kick your ass. If I can't kick your ass myself, I have a whole bunch of friends who can and will." Now I want to reiterate, I was not a SEAL. I did not go through the rigorous combat training the Navy teaches special warfare operators and team guys. I learned some, enough to qualify you for special warfare, but what SEALs go through in BDUS and their supplemental training schools, their individual specialty schools, and whatever clandestine shit the agencies and JSOC have them doing nowadays was completely missed on my career track. We drive boats, we fly in choppers, we jump out of planes. Sometimes we do a mission with a SEAL team, but most of the time it's a partner force op or some kind of escort op in some territorial waterway we're not supposed to be in. Maybe we're pulling a few divers out of the murk and not talking about it for the rest of the way to extract because it's one of those missions. There's a reason why SEALs are also called frogmen. Damn, this is a long post, bro. This is a lot of reading. I was also injured. I could walk on both legs by this point, but if my painters weren't working well enough, or if the weather was bad, there were some days I couldn't stand up straight without leaning on something. But the rest of my body was still in decent shape. I trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the fleet. I practiced Kali and Salat with some Filipino guys I met on base. They are why I love Lumpia so much. I picked up different shooting stances like center axis relock. I went to CQB shooting courses thanks to my Navy career. I wasn't Rambo, but I wasn't a fucking slouch either. And I could kill this fucker with my bare hands. No 1911 necessary. But I loved his sister and I wanted to marry her and adopt her child, so I bit my tongue whenever he flashed on me. Weeks went by, every now and then he'd snap at me for some shit. I decided I'd had enough, and one night when I was leaving to head home, I took my PS3 and TV with me. He loved that. He declared that I was banned from the apartment, to which my girlfriend reminded him that it's her apartment and her rules, and that he needed to be respectful. Then one fateful morning, maybe a week after that, I had spent the night and we were getting up early because I needed to be on base and she had to go to work. So we got out the door with the kiddo, and just as we were buckling her into her car seat, I realized I'd left my wallet inside. So I went back to the apartment and retrieved it, and as I was walking towards the front door, Assfuck McGee pipes up, "You're cleaning those dishes when you get back." Dear audience, those dishes were dishes he had dirtied the previous night when he made a late night stoner mac and cheese and somehow needed a mixing bowl and 4 different wooden spoons to make it. I looked at them, looked at him, looked back at them, then back at him, and said, "You're high. Clean them yourself, bitch, and don't ever tell me what to do again." Before doing the damned best about face a man can do when low on painkillers and high on pain and salt, and walking out the front door. I was maybe 6 or 7 steps down the stairwell when I heard the door fly open behind me. I turned to see him coming at me with both hands, and he threw me the rest of the way down the stairs. I landed hard on my back, knocking the wind out of me and hitting the back of my head hard on the concrete deck. My leg caught fire with fresh pain. Then he jumped on top of me, snapping me out of my daze, and I went to work on him. I grit through the pain and started working to get on top of him, where I proceeded to rain hell on his face with my fists. I split his lips, I popped him in the eyes and the temple, I even gave his Adam's apple a nice little tap. I was fucking furious, and I honestly didn't care if I killed him in that moment. Someone had to die, and it definitely was not gonna be me. But she saved his life a second time. She was wondering why it was taking so long, and when she heard yelling, she came running and found me on top and beating the gravy out of him. She screamed for me to get off, and I did. As soon as I did, his mouth started running. "Sister, he threatened to kill me, and he attacked me and threw me down the stairs because I asked him to bring back the PS3. Which she knew was fucking bullshit, and the neighbor's security camera outside backed that up, but in that moment, she was livid, and rightfully so. I took her to work, I took the kid to daycare, I went to base. I had to explain to my CEO why I had bloody knuckles and why I was holding a cold pack to the back of my head. They offered to call the police so I could press charges, I told them no. My CEO damn near ordered me to call the police or he put me back on med leave, which he couldn't do, technically. To which I replied that I'd rather go on med leave than lose my girlfriend for calling the cops on her brother. It was made clear to me, under no uncertain terms, that I am a particularly stupid kind of asshole, and that this would come back to bite me in the ass someday. Well, he was right. Basically, brother gave an ultimatum that I either leave and she dumps me, or he leaves and walks out of her and her daughter's life, which, to be fair to my ex, that loser had been the only constant male figure in her child's life since she was born, which meant I got the axe. Honestly, I'd have rather taken an actual axe to the heart because what I actually felt was way worse. It's one thing when you're saying goodbye to the woman you love, but to also have to say goodbye to a sobbing little kid that you wanted so much in your heart to adopt and make your own? I don't want to meet the man who can hold back tears from that shit. That man scares me. I went back to my apartment, I put together a little box with the toys and keepsakes and clothing items they'd left behind, and waited for the right time to bring it by her work. I was a broken man, but that little fucker, he wanted to kick me when I was down. Remember those friends he mentioned? Well, he wasn't lying. He did have some friends with rap sheets and bad intentions, and in the months that followed her and I breaking up, he put them to work. I wasn't Jewish, and I had been dating his sister for the last 6 months, but somehow I was both a slur for Jewish people and a slur for gay people. Police were called, a report was made, surveillance footage was useless though. Faces covered, they wore gloves, so no prints, and it's not like they were rolling out CSI to collect hair follicles off the deck for auto vandalism. 2 weeks later, an attempted arson attack on my front door. Someone wearing a mask and a hoodie lit a Molotov cocktail and threw it at my front door's welcome mat. If it weren't for the apartment's fire sprinklers actually working, my apartment would have burnt down with me in it because I wasn't jumping from the 3rd floor balcony. I need a fucking drink, what the fuck? I'm back, and I have a drink. It's Gamer Subs, Kaho's guilty pleasure, and it's delicious. Gamer Subs sponsor me on my 2nd video. Anyways, that was a more serious crime. Cops were very interested in solving it, but again, no usable prints, face covered for a camera, etc. Then it was quiet for a month. My ex had reached out to me when she heard about the fire, and I told her I fucking knew it was her brother, but I didn't have any proof. She said she'd say something to him. And coincidentally, nothing happened again for a while, until I guess cops came around asking to talk to him because obviously I gave them his name as a person of interest. In the month and some change since our spat, she basically forced him to find some kind of work or she was going to kick him out. So he had gotten a part-time gig at an auto shop in town that had a rep for being the one you don't go to but fine to recommend to someone you hate. They cut corners everywhere they could, so it was a perfect job for the fuckweasel. At least until cops came looking for him one day, asking about that fire. The owners didn't like having cops asking about their employees, so since he'd only been there a week or 2, he got the boot. He deeply appreciated that. So one night, I'm getting home from work. I had stopped at the gym on the way, worked up a good sweat, and got a bite to eat from the grocery store. I pulled into my spot in my Enterprise rental, my car was still in the shop, and walked into my apartment. Real quick, while I was over 21 and legally owned guns and had a concealed carry permit on days where I was on base, I did not carry my pistol. It is incredibly rare for anyone whose explicit job description doesn't include carries a pistol at all times to be allowed to carry a weapon on base. Since I'm not leaving a pistol in my car, and there weren't any places to securely store a weapon while I was working, I just opted not to take my gun with me. It's also why I did not have a pistol on the morning shit dick jumped me. I was unarmed. I lived on the 3rd floor. There was a 4th floor above me and stairs leading to it. I heard footsteps coming down the stairs fast, and I turned to see 4 guys in hoods, masks, and wearing gloves coming towards me. My door was open, so I dropped my groceries and tried to slam the door behind me. They got a foot in and managed to wedge through into my apartment. What followed took place during a period of about 14 seconds. The neighbors across the way, after the fire, got a security cam installed outside their door as well, so we actually know timestamps down to the second. I kept a loaded pistol tucked in a closet near my front door. Irresponsible, I know, but I was younger and more naive than I am now. In the scuffle with the first guy who came through the door, I managed to reach my hand into the closet, find the gun, and push myself back and away to give us several feet of space. I remember very vividly seeing all 4 men in my doorway and hallway. The first guy I had just pushed, having been body blocked from falling backwards, and was starting to come toward me for the second time. I raised my pistol, this one a SIG P226, chambered in 40.40 Smith & Wesson, and just as I heard one of them shout, "Gun!" I started lining up shots and pulled the trigger. There were no limbs shot, no shooting to scare them. I didn't try to wing them. Body, head, as I had trained, as I had been taught. The first guy went down, the second guy caught 2 of the through and throughs from the first guy before I plugged him in the forehead. The third guy stopped dead in his tracks before catching 4 center of mass. And the 4th guy was halfway out the door before I emptied the rest of my magazine into him, threw friend number 3 and whatever I could see and aim at. You might be thinking, oops, that 4th guy was running away. That's murder. You're a murderer. Well, the cops didn't see it that way, and the investigators didn't charge it that way, because he lived. Now, the first 3 recipients of my high-velocity sleeping pills didn't. The first guy's brains were all over the second guy. The second guy's brains were all over my wall. The third guy's heart and both of his lungs were demolished by my .40 Smith & Wesson, who was pronounced dead on the scene. The 4th guy was my ex's brother. I knew it was r/NuclearRevenge, but holy shit. Of the 3 bullets that hit him, 1 grazed his ass, the other thoroughly lodged itself in his right ass cheek, and the third one hit him square in the spinal cord right around the kidney area, shattered his spine and completely destroyed his lucrative career in competitive breakdance and bicycling. He was paralyzed from the navel down, had to have a permanent catheter to catch his piss, and a diaper for what was now the most useful byproduct he was capable of producing. He'd never walk again, he'd never fuck again. And when he was healthy enough to be discharged from the hospital, he was locked up in prison, given 3 manslaughter charges since he caught the rap for his 3 buddies getting killed. He was also charged with conspiracy to commit murder, assault, battery, and he even caught the reckless endangerment charges for me discharging my firearm in an apartment complex with another apartment across the hall from the open door I was shooting towards. He was never going to breathe free air again. I would like to say that this ended happily ever after, that she took me back, that we got married and I adopted her little one, and we get a couple spares of our own, but she didn't. Within 24 hours, she declared that she was scared of me, that she did not want me anywhere near her or her child, and that she'd call the police on me if she ever saw me near her home or her place of work, which sucked. I liked that target. She called me a murderer. She accused me of sitting the cops on him to instigate a response just so I could shoot him. She ignored the arson, the vandalism, the various threats he'd thrown at me in the previous months we were together. I never saw her again. She blocked me on everything, her family blocked me, she changed her number, she transferred to a different target, and after a couple of months, she moved to a different apartment in a different part of town. It has been 8 years since the shooting and I still haven't heard from her. I know she's alive. Friends of friends informed me she got married in 2020, had a second kid, and is happy, so more power to her. I never got my happy ending, my white picket fence. Believe it or not, killing 3 guys, even for a person trained for war and conditioned for the possibility that one day he might have to do it, fucks with your head, especially when you consider it happened in your own home and not in Baghdad or Abbottabad. There's a huge mental and emotional disconnect and difference between killing somebody for work and killing someone because your life was in danger. I had PTSD. I couldn't touch any of my guns once I got them back for a full year without having panic attacks. The Navy was great about it all. They aided with the investigation, including the CO, who called me the apex dumbass, giving his statement of that morning I got jumped. I was offered the chance to live on base with protective detail until things cooled down. I declined. 8 years. Since then I've retired. I'm now working in the private sector. I have my own LLC making great money doing cybersecurity and site security consulting. Occasionally, I go out boating. My partner of 3 years is the most loved, supportive person I've ever been with. I know they have my back no matter who tries to kill me. We're talking about having kids before we get too much older. Life's good. But you want to know what really warmed my heart? Just the other day, a Google alert I set up 8 years ago triggered. It was Skidmark McDipshit's first and last name followed by the word obituary. It turns out someone in prison got sick and tired of annoying white boy in a wheelchair talking so much shit and flexing on people, believing nobody would hit someone in a wheelchair. They used his wheelchair to cave his skull in and used their shoes to finish him off with a few good stomps. Of course, it doesn't say that in the obituary. It just says that he was a bright, lovable lad when he was young who fell into hard times in his early adulthood and landed in prison. The real surprise is apparently he survived by a daughter none of us knew he had back then, so sucks for her, but I doubt she ever got the chance to know her sperm donor anyway. Honestly, that's for the best. So yeah, sorry for the fucking novel, but I just didn't feel like leaving out any of the details that mattered. I hope you enjoyed my story. Damn. I mean, I can't say that he didn't deserve it, but I mean, honestly, you did what you had to do. Your life was very much in danger, so I don't even know if I would call that revenge. That doesn't even feel like revenge. You weren't planning something out, it just kind of happened and you just had to deal with it as it came. That one was heavy. That one was really heavy. Honestly, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. That second story was pretty heavy and also pretty long. It kind of sucks with NuclearRevenge because I can't joke about it so much like I can with like Am I the Devil half the time, because they're so serious and some of them have really heavy details like the second one did. If you guys want to follow me on any of my social media, it's going to be at Calphany everywhere. If you guys want to be even more awesome and support my dance group, it is Valare Idols. I hope you guys go and support us. We work really hard. It'd be super awesome if you did. So be sure to like and subscribe if you liked and subscribed it. See ya!